Hello everyone, I'm Ryan from Fireside Yankees, and there are breaking news. The New York Yankees have signed former NL MVP Paul Goldschmidt to a one-year, $12.5 million contract. Now, Alex and I on the Fireside Yankees podcast, not just earlier this morning, but kind of consistently throughout the process of these Goldschmidt rumors, have said we are not really for it. We don't really think this is a move that makes a lot of sense for the Yankees in terms of like the player fit. Now, obviously, the Yankees needed a first baseman. Goldschmidt presents a one-year option at what is a cheap cost. You know, at the end of the day, he's not going to have long-standing financial issues. It's not a Josh Donaldson situation where you're acquiring a player with multiple years of control and significant salary towards a luxury tax. This is more so a flyer deal. Now, is this the flyer I would have taken? No, I would have preferred Carlos Santana. But again, I do acknowledge that, as an older guy, Carlos Santana has the same age-related fall-off concerns that Goldschmidt does. Before we get into everything, make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, turn the notification bell, and check out Fireside Yankees on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, and of course this YouTube page. With that all out of the way, without further ado, let's break down what Paul Goldschmidt did last year. Let's talk about the contract. Let's talk about the projections, all that stuff. Now, Paul Goldschmidt had a 100 WRC plus. He hit 22 home runs in 154 games. With a 1.1 WAR, he had a 255 average, a 302 OBP, and a 414 slugging percentage. These are the worst marks of his career. He had his career worst season. One would assume this is his decline phase, that this is him getting to the stage where he may bottom out next year. And that's my concern here. The swinging strike rate went up. The chase rate went up. The game power declined again. I do have concerns about all of that stuff. I think that when we're talking about a player whose plate skills have gotten worse, their feel for contact has gotten worse, and their game power or their power output hasn't improved, you're talking about a player who may be in that stage where next year is not pretty. There is some nuggets of optimism, though. There are reasons to believe in Paul Goldschmidt. I just tend to, I wouldn't say disagree with those reasons, but I tend to think those reasons don't outweigh the negatives. But let's talk about those positives, because those are important, and there's two sides to any equation here. Paul Goldschmidt had a 92nd percentile hard hit rate. He had a 423 expected weight on base average on contact. He does do damage on contact. He still lifts the ball enough in the air. He would have hit 25 home runs had he played all of his games at Yankee Stadium. Busch Stadium seemed to be a little bit of a kind of a problem for Goldschmidt this past year. At home, he put up a measly 223 average with an 85 WRC plus, 654 OPS with a 155 isolated power. He was much better on the road, not just in terms of average with 266 average, with his slug and with his overall WRC plus and OPS, leading me to believe that there's some reason to believe that Paul Goldschmidt is a player who could benefit from playing at Yankee Stadium. What I described earlier and kind of throughout the week with the whiff concerns, the plate discipline concerns, the increase in pull rate, is that this may be a player who has to sell out for power even more, has to swing earlier in the ball flight as the ball travels to the plate, has to make that decision earlier because they can't catch up to velocity, they're struggling with breaking balls, that kind of stuff. It leads me to believe that perhaps playing at Yankee Stadium, where right field allows for a hitter to kind of shoot the ball out to right field, be a little late on a pitch and still get it out of the yard, I wonder if that's something that plays to Goldschmidt's benefit. Now, in terms of raw athleticism, bat speed, the ability to do damage on contact, the ability to run, his sprint speed declined, this year, I guess, from last year in terms of percentile scores, but it's by 0.1 feet per second. He's actually, in terms of sprint speed, about as fast as he was even before the pandemic. So there isn't a belief, in my opinion, that he's gotten considerably slower, that he's out of shape or whatever. I just think that he's struggling mechanically to get things going because he's trying to pull the ball and catch up to pitches he hasn't been able to catch up to in his older age. But the one thing that also stands out and that gives some fans, including the organization themselves, some hope here, is that Goldschmidt, over his final in the month of from July onward, he had a 116 WRC plus. He had 11 home runs, much better second half. He was a lot stronger after the All-Star break. He hit for some more power. He just looked like a better hitter overall. Perhaps there's some indication that decreased strikeout rates, increased home run output, those kinds of things, that there's some signal there that he's going to be able to have a better 2025 season. Steamer and various projection systems tend to believe so as well. Steamer projects Goldschmidt for a 111 WRC plus, 23 home runs, and a 1.8 WAR over 151 games. The Yankees would gladly take that out of their first base position. Goldschmidt, while he is pretty slow, he isn't a complete brick. He did steal 11 bases last year. His base running value is rather average. That's definitely a step up from Anthony Rizzo, who was one of the slowest players in baseball. In fact, I believe his sprint speed was about as slow as Giancarlo Stanton's. Look, the Yankees are getting a fine first baseman. It's a fine first baseman. That's the best way to put this. The Yankees aren't getting a great one. The Yankees aren't getting one that you can bank on to be reliable next year. They are getting a bit of a risk here that this player could completely fall off, but they are getting a player who possesses, the ability to be a quality first baseman. And I think there is some belief, at least on my end, that this could help Ben Rice. Ben Rice is obviously the young option at first base. He's 26 years old. He hits from the left-handed side. From an on-field perspective, Paul Goldschmidt's 134 WRC plus against left-handed pitching would make him a strong platoon candidate with Ben Rice. I doubt they platoon Paul Goldschmidt out of the gate. I doubt that Ben Rice starts with the team unless there's an injury. But Goldschmidt does, profile well for platoon with Rice. And the other thing is, too, there's some veteran aspect to this. I do believe that Paul Goldschmidt, who is a veteran, is someone who can be of good use for Ben Rice. I think Ben Rice could learn a lot from Paul Goldschmidt. So, look, I don't like Paul Goldschmidt's outlook for 2025. That's my opinion. I am going to stand firm on that. But I also am not going to give the Yankees this F for signing Paul Goldschmidt. Look, we don't know how this move's going to play out. We don't know, A, if he's going to perform well. B, if Ben Rice breaks out, and, you could reasonably say the acquisition of Goldschmidt had something to do with that. And we also don't know what the other first basemen on the market are going to get and what they're going to be. What if Carlos Santana got a 2-year deal at higher value than Paul Goldschmidt? Then I wouldn't have said the Yankees should sign Carlos Santana. I wouldn't have guaranteed multiple years to either player. Christian Walker, what if he doesn't perform well next year? Then we're going to sit back and say, hey, I'm glad we got Paul Goldschmidt instead of committing 3 years to a player who isn't performing well. There are various outcomes where I can look, and obviously with the trade market, there's no way to know what teams are asking for. There's no way to know what the Yankees could or could not do. So, I'm willing to let the season play out before I say, this is a bad move. The Yankees got worse. They didn't get worse. The Yankees failed the offseason. We don't know what they're doing at second or third base yet. This is far from a complete team. I thought they've done a really good job building up the pitching staff. I like the acquisition of Bellinger. They are adding home runs here, and I did think they need a little bit of that, but I do think they need a little bit of OBP as well. I hope that the next player they import onto their roster provides them a little bit of OBP. But overall, again, it's a move that I wouldn't have made. I'm not big on Paul Goldschmidt, but it's one that could play out well. It's one that could work. There are reasons to believe this move can work. It's just that, again, those reasons don't outweigh the reasons why I don't necessarily feel too confident about Goldschmidt going into 2025, but we'll see. I would love to get your perspective in the comment section below. Are you happy about this? It's a $12.5 million deal. The risk here is really just performance related, right? I don't believe in the no risk thing. There is a risk in acquiring a player who doesn't make you better at a position. The risk is that you missed out on players who could make you better, and you didn't make your team better in a window where you have to compete. Those are real risks, right? The risks aren't just financial, prospect capital, draft picks, all that stuff. The risk is also contending. Are you going to win the World Series this year? Did you cost yourself a chance at the World Series? We'll have to wait and see. But again, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Check out Fireside Yankees on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, and of course this YouTube page. We appreciate all the support you guys have given us lately. Thank you guys again for tuning in and sticking through to the end of the video. You guys can check me out on Twitter at Ryan Garcia ESM, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out. Let's go Yankees.